Hey everybody, thank you for joining me for another episode. Today we have with us one of my favorite people, sports folks in the biz, Jake Riepma. Jake, how are you doing today?
Sunday, I am doing great. I'm so excited to be joining you today. You're far too kind saying I'm one of your favorites because the feelings are mutual.
Oh, thanks so much, Jake. Yeah, we actually met at Northwestern some years ago. We worked with the Chicago Bulls together. Great times. And now, yes. And now Jake has graduated and he is with 97.1 FM, The Ticket, out of Detroit, correct?
That is correct. Yep, 97.1 The Ticket. We're the flagship station for three of the four major Detroit sports teams. So we carry the Pistons for the NBA, the Tigers in Major League Baseball, and the Red Wings in the NHL.
So how young were you when you decided that media was the career that you were interested in?
Yeah, that's a great question because there's a couple of different answers for this one. I'll go with the story I always tell because I played sports growing up, played football in college, and always wanted to be around sports. But the story I always tell growing up, we were playing backyard football. And, I kind of have a loud mouth. That's why I'm in talk radio. I'm always talking, always blabbering. And this particular time, I took it a little bit too far. And my dad and I was playing with my brothers. And, they sent me out. I was mouthing off too much. And so I was sent to timeout, kicked out of the game sort of thing. And I was still watching my brothers and my neighbors play. And it just clicked in my head, somebody's got to announce the game. So I wanted to be the announcer. And at that time, in that very moment, even as a kid, I knew I wanted to, if I wasn't going to be playing sports, I wanted to be around sports. I wanted to be announcing them. And so one thing kind of led to another. And then through college, I had some opportunities to call some play-by-play games and ultimately led me down this path of wanting to get into sports talk radio to be around sports. And unfortunately, it's not going to be playing anymore. Those days are long gone. And if I want to be around sports, it's going to be in the media biz. So it's been a long journey, but it's been a fun one with some highs and some lows, as I'm sure you can attest. Anybody can really attest to. But that very moment as a kid when I was playing football in the backyard, was kicked out of the game for mouthing off, and then started being the announcer of the game because I wasn't allowed to play. That's when I knew I wanted to get into sports media.
That's awesome. And so do you remember the moment or how you felt in that moment? What was the moment for you where you actually got to do some play-by-play announcing, maybe for the first time, the second time, and you felt in your bones like, this is what I want, this is what I have to be doing? Can you remember that moment? Tell us what it was.
Oh, yeah, absolutely. Another great question. So I went to a school called Northwood University for undergrad. It's a Division II school. And I remember announcing my first basketball game play-by-play. And it's a Division II school, so it wasn't necessarily a huge setting, but being courtside and calling the players' names and broadcasting the game live, and the excitement of being around a live sporting event like that, from that perspective, being courtside, I knew this was a dream job and what I wanted to do. And then as far as kind of the what I'm at now in sports talk radio, the very first show I did on the air with The Ticket, it was an adrenaline rush unlike any other. And again, I like you said, you feel it in your bones, you feel it in your heart. And I mean, I'm even getting excited now just thinking about it. But when that on-air light clicks on and it's full go, people are, they're listening to what you have to say in that particular moment, whether it's a live event doing play-by-play or in a sports talk show setting, both of them just bring about the adrenaline rush and the excitement. And really, it's a shot of adrenaline. It's like a drug. It's addicting too. I mean, when you're on there and you're interacting with the audience, and then afterwards, for example, doing a play-by-play game, I would have players or coaches or even parents that were listening to the game said, Jake, I loved when you called the game this way. That to me was one of the more rewarding experiences to it as well.
Definitely. And so with people who are interested in play-by-play sports reporting, what would you say your daily duties are when it comes to waking up in the morning, being at the Ticket? How early are you waking up? Just give us a little bit of a preview, a taste of what it's like on your day-to-day job.
Yeah, definitely. So the role I'm in now at 97.1 The Ticket, I have kind of three different hats that I wear, and that's kind of the best way to describe it. So depending on my role for that day, if I'm a producer is kind of in charge of the behind the scenes of what's going on with the show, making sure all the commercials are lined in the commercial log, making sure our live reads are ready to go. You're kind of in charge of almost steering the ship behind the scenes, and it's a big job. It's not necessarily the most fun job because you're not on air as often. You'll chime in from time to time and things like that. But as a producer, and for example, I was producing our morning show on Monday and Tuesday, and the show goes on the air at 6 a.m. And so I'm in the building at 4 a.m. getting all the daily audio ready. Because with sports talk radio, it's all an audio medium. So everything, from highlights, from sound bites, with right now it's baseball season. So everything that the Tigers manager, Ron Gardner, had to say the night before, making sure that's in the system. So at any time, a show host can say, well, what did Ron Gardner have to say about such and such? And we've got the audio queued up. So that's as a producer. Typically you're there 2 hours before the show, and then you'll have a post-show meeting to kind of grab the best parts of the show. So for a 4-hour show, you're there 2 hours early, and then the 4-hour show, you're running everything, running the board, running all the sound, and then probably about an hour meeting afterwards to kind of recap the show and pick out the highs, the lows, that sort of thing. It's kind of like watching film. I always use a football analysis as a former football player. You got to point out where things went well and where things could have been done better. So that's as a producer. As a show host, which is my ultimate goal and kind of the dream job, if you will, which I've had the opportunity to fill in quite a bit as a host on 97.1 The Ticket. And to me, that's all about preparation. The 2 days leading up to your show, you're in the know. In sports talk radio, it's all about engaging with the audience. So you're always trying to find topics that's gonna really resonate with your listening audience. So it could be, of course, it's sports. It's also entertainment. It's anything that someone can feel connected to your show. So the day or two leading up to hosting, it's all about the preparation and getting in the know with everything that's going on locally, nationally, you name it. So, and that's the most fun too. I mean, being on the air and interacting with callers, with people that are texting the show, and it can get kind of crazy from time to time. You get some crazy opinions out there, and that's what makes it entertaining too. So that part's a lot of fun. And then lastly, the third role that I'll do is writing for our website, 97.1 The Ticket. And that's all, you're, as a writer, you've had a lot of experience, that it can be a labor of love, we'll put it that way, depending on what story you're writing. But I write a lot of opinion pieces, a lot of blogs, and then depending on if I'm assigned to cover a game for 971theticket.com, that's where you kind of use more of your fundamental sports journalism skills that we learned at Northwestern. So depending on the role, the three different roles are what I'm doing at 97.1 The Ticket. They can be drastically different, but they all require a good foundation and really knowing your stuff and being immersed in Detroit sports.
Yeah, that's awesome. And I definitely, before I go on with my questions, I definitely want to let everyone that's watching right now know Jake is like being very classy. He's being very classy when it comes to the callers and the people that make comments, because I've seen some of these comments, and yes, some of them are very left. They are out of control. And
oh my God. Yeah.
My goodness.
Yeah, since you said that, I mean, I won't share the specifics of them. What I will say is, because a good sports talk radio show has a lot of feedback, a lot of interaction with the listeners, but you quickly learn in this business to have a very, very thick skin. You can't let little things bother you.
Yes. I will go on record in the newsroom is like that as well. I was actually shocked. I didn't know, but yeah, you definitely have to have a thick skin for sure. So guys, he's being super modest right now, okay?
Yeah, it can bring you to tears if you let it. You just got to block it out.
So a lot of people, I know that you wanted to land the station after Northwestern, which you did, which for some people is a dream come true, because my understanding, correct me if I'm wrong, this is where you really want to spend some time. You love your home, you love Michigan. And so this is where you really kind of see yourself for a few years. So talk to me a little bit about that, and also maybe some of your sports heroes that you look up to in the industry, that kind of keep you on your toes, if you will.
Yeah, no, definitely. It's a really great talking point and a great question by you. So Detroit is kind of, I would say it's a unique market in the sense that it has the four major teams. It has all four pro teams, and then it's a very passionate fan base with both Michigan and Michigan State, the University of Michigan and Michigan State. So you also have the college atmosphere as well. And like you said, I'm born and raised in Midland, Michigan, which is a little further north than Detroit, Michigan, but grew up idolizing all of the Detroit teams. And because 97.1 The Ticket is the only sports station in Detroit, it's where I knew I wanted to be. It was, it was a goal of mine. That said, I still, humbly, admittedly, I started at a very, very entry-level position, which you often do in this industry. But just to have the opportunity to get my foot in the door at my kind of quote-unquote dream station was super rewarding, and I'm very thankful. And everybody that's been in this industry knows it takes a lot of the stars kind of need to align. So I was fortunate enough. One of the main hosts at 97.1 The Ticket is a graduate of Northwestern, so we were able to connect that way. He helped get my foot in the door, and again, I started as just a producer with no promise or no agreement that I would one day be on air. I had to kind of prove myself and work my way up to that, and then the same with the writing for our website as well. So I guess in the sense of advice, I would always urge people that once you get your foot in the door where you want to be, then it kind of becomes up to you to make that impression and make that impact on your bosses, on management, your coworkers. And it took in my mind, it took a little longer than I had hoped. It took probably about 8 months before I was on air, but I was sending in demos, sending in samples, and basically coming to my bosses saying, look, I've got the educational background, I've got some experience with what I did at Northwood, and I'm ready, I'm capable. And if it can be a fine line too, because you don't want to go to the well too many times. But fortunately, it's kind of started to work out a little bit more, and I'm still going for any opportunities. And that's a big part of it too, is just never saying no. Anytime management comes to you, for me, it's Jake, we need you to fill in hosting this show. It's always, the answer is always yes, which can be tough on your social schedules and things like that. But it is kind of the necessary evil that comes with the territory. But as far as sports heroes, growing up in Michigan, I'll give you one. The longtime Tigers broadcaster was a man by the name of Ernie Harwell, and he had just an iconic voice. And as a kid, I would sneak a radio, because my parents won't let me stay up late watching Tigers baseball. So I would sneak a radio into my bedroom and listen to the game as a kid. And Ernie Harwell would bring the game to life. And I just remember idolizing him. And he was a hero of mine, and that's what I wanted to do. I wanted to broadcast sports, and still a work in progress, but we're getting there closer and closer. And then I grew up on the field of play. My all-time favorite Detroit Red Wings player as a kid was Sergei Fedorov. I made all my teachers call me Sergei because I wanted to be like Sergei Fedorov. I wouldn't answer to Jake, only to Sergei. So, yeah, that's me. And then currently it's a little different because when you're covering these teams, you don't want to necessarily be a fan. And so I try to still keep that journalistic integrity and still do my job to the best of my abilities without being a fan. But in the sports talk radio setting, part of being a good host is being relatable to the fans that you're serving. So it's kind of a fine line there. When I'm hosting a radio show, it's okay to kind of bring that fan's perspective into it sometimes.
Definitely. I 100% agree with that. And I wanted to piggyback really briefly on your first response. So I used to work ages ago at Intercom Radio in San Francisco. And so there is 95.7 The Game. And
yeah,
I remember, yes. And I remember.
Yeah, so The Ticket is also Intercom. So we're the same parent company.
Okay, awesome. Yes. And so there was my undergrad, I went to UC Berkeley. And so there was I felt like at the time there were no reporters from Berkeley anywhere. I think I knew of one man who was at CNN, and that's it. But since then, we're a little more deep than I thought, thank God. But at the time, I didn't know that. So I had found out when I was working there was another Berkeley grad who has an exact same similar story to you. He just kind of kept going to management like, hey, I'm ready for this. You know, here's a demo, here's a sample that I came in and recorded in my free time. Let me know your thoughts. And eventually they started letting him fill in on the weekends. And then now he's running his own show, doing his boss thing. So yeah, just that persistence, like you said, not going to the well too many times, but just letting people know that you're there, that you're ready, that you're capable, being available, like you said, willing to make those sacrifices so that people can know that you're reliable, that you're good, you know? Yeah. So that's excellent advice.
I wholeheartedly agree. Yep, definitely.
Yeah. Well, Jake, is there anything else that you would like to share with people that may be interested in play-by-play, sports reporting, or working in sports radio?
Yeah, I think, I mean, you piggyback for a second. I'll piggyback off what you just said. I mean, that's to a T. It's kind of, I always think of it as kind of like a big pie chart. You got to have a slice of your persistence and dedication. You got to have a slice of being naturally talented and knowing your stuff, and then a slice of the preparation and the work that goes into it. It's not just one thing that makes a successful sports reporter or a sports radio host or really any role in sports media. I think there's a lot of common characteristics that are applicable to whatever position that you might be in. And some of it too is across any industry. Being someone that's fun to be around, someone that's easy to work with. And fortunately or unfortunately, right, wrong, or different, however you want to put it, I've been kind of exposed to people that I've really enjoyed working with, and then people at our station, at other stations that, you know, that have big egos, they're tough to work with. And, you know, that to me, that rubs me the wrong way, and it definitely, I've, you know, heard from management, Jake, you know, we love working with you, and, you know, you bring a breath of fresh air. And I think that's important in any role that you do. So, it's no one perfect formula, that you got to be yourself too, but you know, doing the little things right and being someone that's fun to be around and easy to work with is something that can really bode well for you too.
Yeah, that's excellent. And I just thought of a last question, because now I'm interested in knowing just myself. What do you think for millennials or for younger people in the sports industry right now, especially with radio? Like, what are the things that, like the sauce, if you will, or the seasoning that we bring to the newsroom or the sports world that is not there right now?
Yeah, that's a tremendous question. And you can go a couple of different directions with this. I'll talk to sports radio specifically real quick, because that's probably, you know, that's what I'm in every day. That's kind of what I see the most of. I think in today's day and age, with the growth of on-demand audio and podcasts and things, and the ease of entry, you know, people can start a podcast pretty easily. And so I think it takes, especially when you're just starting out, to show the diligence of starting something on your own, and you have the tools, and, you know, anybody with social media, and there's so many platforms out there to get your content out there. There's really no excuse not to have a portfolio of your own content. So, I mean, things like, you're an incredible example of this, that you can start things on your own and put together a quality product, and people take note of that. So I think just the growth of on-demand audio, and millennials, you know, right, wrong, or different, we're always characterized with the set of, you know, the stigma that goes along with being a millennial. And for me, in Sports Talk Radio, we play it up on the air. You know, if I'm hosting with somebody that's older than me, you know, they'll tease me for being a millennial, and you gotta take it in stride, you know, and like, well, sure, I know what's going on because I'm a millennial, I'm in the know, and they, you know, you can make light of it, you can make jokes about it, and I'm someone that's pretty self-deprecating to begin with, but I found self-deprecating humor goes quite a long ways in the radio business. So if making fun of myself for being a millennial is one way that I can make my listeners or my audience, you know, laugh and be entertained, then I'll go with it. But so that's kind of more the humorous side. The serious side is just having that ease of access to things like starting your own podcast, or even, it doesn't have to be a podcast, but digital content, you know, during the pandemic, a friend of mine and we did these just quick 60-second sports updates from our bedrooms, called the Bedroom News Network. And,
I love
to have
that.
to have the creativity to just start something and put it on Instagram. And you never know who's going to see that. It could be an executive, or it could be someone in a position of power to say, wow, I really liked that video, or I really liked that podcast. And so you're always now in 2020, you're able to get your content out there easier than ever. And I think we as millennials have kind of started that movement. And we're not solely responsible for it, but we are immersed in it and can use it to our advantage.
We've taken it to the next level, okay?
Yeah.
Stop hating on us millennials, everybody. You better be thanking us because we're saving you right now.
Right. And some of us are hard workers. I know that's one characteristic that people are always dogging on millennials for. But you're a very hard worker. I like to think we have a very strong work ethic, and some millennials know how to really put the pedal to the metal and grind.
Yes, absolutely. It's understated how much we are grinders. So for people who need to connect with you, where can they do so? What are your socials?
Yeah, definitely. Twitter is the biggest one for us in sports radio. And mine, I try to keep it very simple, just at Jake_Riepma. And then I'm on LinkedIn, I'm on Facebook and Instagram, but Twitter is definitely the biggest one. When you're watching a game, you're tweeting about Detroit sports. I tweet mostly about Detroit sports or national stuff, but have some fun with it too. So I tweet about my Netflix shows or things like that. But I love connecting with people on Twitter, and then Instagram as well. I'm Jake_Riepma for everything.
Okay, awesome. And I have to ask you, since you mentioned your shows, what's going on with you and Pam from The Office? I have to know.
Oh, Sunday, you know me way too well. I mean, anybody that wants to, I will talk at length with anyone about why Pam Beesly and then eventually Pam Halpert was not a good character. Jim could have done so much better. She was whiny, she was needy, and Jim is this hardworking guy going to start his own company, and she was not supportive at all. And Jim should have stayed with Karen. I'll go that far. Jim should have stayed with Karen.
Oh my God.
I love The Office. Always have, always will. And I'm sure Pam isn't as bad as I'm making her out to seem. But there are episodes. Sunday, I kid you not, I have screenshots and videos of the episodes where Pam really shows her negative sides, just in case. So anybody wants to talk to me about that, I will defend that. I will die on that hill that Pam is overrated.
You've got the evidence to prove it, everybody.
That's right.
Well, thank you so much, Jake, for taking your time out today to spend with me. It's always a pleasure. We always have a blast.
No doubt. My gosh, the pleasure is all mine, Sunday. You're doing big things, and I'm so proud to know you and to be your friend. And let's